This episode of the Unwashed Asses is brought to you, as always, by patreon.com/0and09. If you dig what I do here, if you dig what I do on Zero Lives, if you dig anything else I do and or put out, head on over to patreon.com/0and09. Pitch in $1 a month. That's all I ask. Helps keep things going, helps make things better, and overall, haven't figured out the last bit. But it's important. $1 a month. That's all I ask. Heyo. Hi. Welcome to the Unwashed Asses, episode 22, recorded July 9th, Sunday, 2017. Got a makeup episode here. A lot of ums and uhs and I don't know. Like, my mind's not in it. I'm sitting in my truck, waiting for my next job. And you ever get that? And I know I talk about this. I've beaten this horse to death and then some. I've become a necromancer, raised the horse back up, beat it into death once more, and repeated the process about 3 times. But busy. And the thing of, you ever have so much on your plate you don't know where to start? Well, yeah. I mean, same thing. I spent most of my lunch hour revising my schedule and trying to get things in an order to where I don't have to think like, oh, I have to do this project, I have to do this. It's all just on my calendar. It's like, okay, well, 9 o'clock rolls around, you do this now, and hopefully make things easier for me. And I'm a little bit excited. So, I mentioned it a few months back when registration opened, but we're up for an award. So the podcast awards over at podcastawards.com. Let me just pull this site up here and double check. Podcastawards.com. We're up for an award. So registered the site, and now nominations have begun. And I apparently have not been staying on top of this because it opened up for nominations at the beginning of July. It's going to run through the end of the month. Effectively, all you have to do is head over to podcastawards.com, register to vote, and then go ahead and nominate the Unwashed Asses. We're underneath the mature category. You can also do... There's some other category. It's at the top. That's under the Adam Curry selection. I think it's like... the People's Choice Award. You can nominate it for that, too, but honestly, that's where all the shows are competing against one another, whereas for the mature category, we've only got like 9 others we're competing against. So, please, everybody, anybody who hears this, I don't care if you're a patron or not, just head over to podcastawards.com. podcastawards.com and register. You just have to type in your name, your email address, and create a password, and then go down to the mature category and select the Unwashed Asses. There's a bunch of other categories. I don't care about those. I'm not in any of them. We're worried about the mature category. Now, in looking over the rules, they've overhauled how it works. So I'm not going to bother iterating how it used to work or why they did the rule change. There was a big kerfluffle last year. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't apply now. So the podcaster registration ran from May 1st, and it goes through the end of the month. So if you have a show, you can still register. If you're going to register in mature category, please don't register in mature category. I need all the help I can get here. So the listener nomination period is for the entire month of July. So July 1st through July 31st. Slate announcement is August 12th, and then slate voting is August 13th through September 15th. And the awards themselves are the ceremonies September 30th. So, I'm going through the rules here to make sure I don't miss anything and telling you what you need to know here. Okay, so the nomination period. Listeners can register on the Podcast Awards site to nominate their favorite registered shows through a web-based form between July 1st and July 31st. Be aware that once a nomination has been made in a specific category, that category will be closed in the nominator and no changes can be made. So don't fuck it up. Listeners have the full 30 days to nominate a show in each of the categories. Podcast Awards slate determination. The slate of nominated shows to be voted on will be determined by the number of nominations each show receives during the nomination period. The nomination committee, made up of 3 Podcast Awards team members, will review the top 10 nominated shows, validate eligibility, and certify the slate to be announced no later than August 12th. Each category will have up to 10 eligible shows to be voted on. So in this case, where the mature category, as of right now, only has about 10 shows, we should be an automatic shoo-in. But I don't want to take that risk. So, please, you vote. Go register the site. Pause the show, go register at the site, vote. Tell all your friends, register, vote. We're going to need all the help we can get. Because if we could get award-winning podcast in the title, holy shit. How amazing would that be? And it wouldn't be me. It would be all you guys. I just sit here and ramble into a microphone for an hour. This is a group effort. This is a coordinated attack. And if you can do this, holy fuck. Alright. Awesome. Apps crashing. This is not gonna win an award. Okay. So, Podcast Awards voting. The Podcast Awards voting team will be made up as follows. The Podcast Awards Committee will invite journalists, podcast thought leaders, legacy podcasters, sponsors, and individuals of the committee's choosing to vote, not to exceed 50 participants. Through random selection, 50 of the 2017 registered podcasters will be asked to review and vote with a backup pool of registered podcasters to ensure 50 podcasters cast ballots. Through random selection, 250 registered listeners who volunteered to vote during registration will be asked to review and vote with a backup pool of registered listeners to ensure 250 listeners cast ballots. This panel of 350 podcasters, listeners, journalists, thought leaders, and sponsors will independently review and vote to determine a winner in each category. In the event of a voting tie, the show with the most nominations will be awarded the category. Final voting results will be verified by One Technologies and submitted to the podcast committee. In the spirit of the Podcast Awards, vote totals will not be posted, nor will they be revealed. Shows that make the slate are all equally honored for having an engaged audience. And the rest is just about the awards, when it is, what you need to do. So nominations are important, but it's not necessarily what will win it. It comes down to individual voting. So it's mostly you guys, getting the nominations in so that we even get considered. Because if the show doesn't get the nominations, there's no consideration. And again, the pool's kind of limited for the mature category, but that's not to say we're not going to get another 100 shows dumped into it before the end of the month. So I ask a lot. I'm a needy person. But this is the point where I need you to really register, vote, tell everybody you know, register, vote, and we'll get these nominations in. With said nominations in, then it's going to fall on yours truly to win them over with my dulcet tones and phone recordings sitting in a truck because I didn't have time to record earlier. And we're going to win ourselves an award. We're going to get it. I have a feeling. You know, it's not all sex and happy time and like, I don't... Like, I know what shows have been in the mature category in the past, and I would like to think this show is very similar to it. But each of the shows in that category, I've not heard of them before. I know some of the people involved with them, but I've not actively listened to it. So, I don't know. I really, really want this to happen, though. So, please, 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 I can't beg enough. Again, doesn't matter if you're a patron or not. Just head over to the Podcast Awards, and I'll put a link in the show notes. And, so no matter how you get the show, if it's iTunes or Stitcher or you watch it on YouTube, I'll have the links all there so you can go ahead and click and vote and get this taken care of because, oh, good God, I need this. I need it. I need the gratification. I need the validation that what I'm doing matters. And you know what? Then we can keep doing great things together. So, speaking of doing great things together, I'm also going to be launching a new show, which is a sister show to the Unwashed Asses. It's going to be called The Midnight Express. You guys seemed really pleased with me when I drive home from work at 1 in the morning on Thursdays, recording a show along the way. It's about a half hour, 40 minutes, and it's very, very rambly, and I've noticed because of how tired I am when I record it, I tend to open up a lot more and say more shit than I should. Like, I've recorded 2 episodes already, this past week and the week before, that I had to... Like, it's not even a matter of editing them down. I needed to delete them because I say shit that's going to get me in trouble. And I can't have that. But it kind of confirmed, listening to them, that this would be something good and enjoyable. So, to get that, you will need to be a patron. So, again, all I ask is $1 a month. And there will be its own separate RSS feed, and you can go ahead and get it through Patreon. So we'll have that. The first episode I'll make available to everybody. I'll put it in the regular Unwashed Asses feed, and then everything out. You know, how does it go? The first taste is free, and then we'll lock it up behind that and make it a patron only. Yes. Sorry, I had an idea for something else, patron reward related. But yeah, I like the idea of the Midnight Express because, and again, you guys seem to react pretty favorably to it as well. Because depending on how my schedule for that day works, I'm either A, working from 5 in the afternoon till 1 in the morning, or I'm working from 8 in the morning until 1 a.m. and I'm very, very tired and tend to just talk about whatever's on my mind, which I do with this show already, but at least with the Unwashed Asses, it's filtered, not censored, but I'm cognizant of what it is I'm saying. Whereas that show, it's a little more loosey-goosey because I'm sleepy bear, and my inhibitions are much lower. So we'll start posting that up, and again, if you want to get in on it, then head over to patreon.com/0and09. And I'm sorry that the first third of this episode is nothing but shameless promotion and whoring when, you know, I was overworked and didn't get a show out on Thursday, but I'm doing it now. I mean, this is literally before the first available moment that I have to record a show and get something up. So we'll get it on the feeds here and into your ears as soon as possible. For whatever reason, this app keeps crashing, and I loved it, but if it's going to keep crashing, we're going to have problems. That's very disconcerting. So, I've been trying to think of a polite way to say this, and I'm not coming up with anything. But just fuck dumb people. There's no two ways about it. Just, if you're dumb, well, your odds are you're not going to realize you're dumb if you actually are. Ignorance is bliss and all that. But, had to get cat food. Had to get some cat food. And so, when was it? I don't even remember. No, it had to be, yeah, okay. So it was Friday morning. So I emptied the last of the cat food into their dish. It was enough to get them through the day because I ended up working 8 a.m. until about 1 a.m. on Thursday. And I should have stopped at Walmart because it's open 24 hours before going home and just got the cat food and not worried about it. But I thought to myself, you know what, I'll just get a small bag of food from the gas station that's next door. Now, I'm fairly certain I've described it before, but the town I live in there's like 1,500 people. There's fuck all there. The biggest thing we've got is a BP gas station that is also like a little mini mart. And from the time, when I lived in Chicago, I was taught, oh yeah, they're not terrible grocery stores. This one, it's overpriced, but it's either you pay a little more or you drive 15 minutes to go to the nearest actual store and get your stuff there. So in a pinch, or if I'm feeling extremely lazy, I'll stop by there. Now, again, I should have gone to Walmart the night before and got the cat food, but I said, you know what? I'll get a little bag of food. It'll tide them over, and then when I get some time, I'll go actually buy a bag of decent cat food. So I get up early Friday morning, and the cats are already, they're pawing at me and trying to wake me up, saying, "Hey, we need food. We ate it all because we're fat asses." And like, okay, I got this. The store opens at 7, and it's a little, 5-minute walk. It's not bad. So I'll get up, get showered, and walk on over there and get some cat food. Now, I do just that. I get up, I get showered, I get dressed, and I walk over to the gas station, and I'm looking at their cat food. Now, cat food itself I'm particular about, because unlike me, who can have variety in what I eat, the cats are really relegated to what I get them. And so, if they're eating the same thing over and over, at least until that bag's finished, I want to make sure it's good quality food, even if I'm buying something in a pinch. And a shocking number of cat foods start off with, like, corn as the first ingredient. And I'm not sure about yourself, but I can't think of the last time I saw, cats hunting wild corn. Look, in the distance, in the savannah, you can see the majestic creature stalking and hunting the wily corn. They don't do it. They don't leap 30 feet forward, pounce on the corn, strangle it by its corn throat, and then start devouring the kernels. Hell, they don't even give a shit about popcorn. So I understand it's mass-produced with corn as the first ingredient because it makes it cheap, and then you get the meat byproducts. Not even like decent cuts of meat. It's byproducts. It's the refuse. And that is in 90% of cat food that you get. And I don't like buying that for my cats because, again, they're relegated to finishing off that bag before I will buy anything else. And they're not outside cats. They're strictly inside because I don't want them getting picked off by a coyote or hit by a car or any number of different things. So they're inside only. I need to make sure they have a good diet. And as I'm looking through the selection at the grocery store, at the gas station, which is admittedly very limited, I'm looking through and I find there's only one brand that they carry where corn isn't the first ingredient. Now, it's still a meat byproduct, but at least it's the first ingredient. So, or primary ingredient, I should say, not first, primary. So I grabbed the bag of food, and it's pretty decent size for the price, relatively cheap. And again, I'm not like looking to replace what their main food is. I just have to get something to get by, so until I can get them their regular food in the next day. And go buy the food, and I'm walking home, and it's like, oh, I've got a little bit of time before I have to get to work. Maybe I can pop on and do some of my dailies and wow, because that's a thing now. And as I crack open the bags and they jump on the counter, they're like, ooh, look at this. We got some food. What do you got, huh? What's good? What's shaking here? Pour it into the bowl, and they're like, I don't think cat food's supposed to be green. Look at the front of the bag. There's no green kibble on the front of the bag. Thinking to myself, this don't seem right. Don't seem right. And it's not like all the kibble's green. It's like one particular shape looks to be green. So I don't know if it's like a tricks deal where different shapes have different colors or what the fuck's going on, but I think to myself, well, this ain't right. And then I remember, on more than one occasion, when I've bought something from this store, it's been expired. It's what got me off chocolate milk after a lifetime of an unhealthy addiction to the stuff. Like, donuts and chocolate milk were my fucking jam. You give me the opportunity, yes, I'm going to buy some, and I'm going to devour it, and I'm going to be happy. Except, there are few things worse than taking a big swig of spoiled milk. It curbs that appetite really fucking fast. And while it curbed me away from chocolate milk, which, isn't altogether a bad thing, at the same time, it taught me to be more wary of their products. So, again, not only is it overpriced, but it's also now expired. Which is a big ol', that's a big... Why would you... Okay, price fixing I can understand. You're the only game in town. You can set it as high as you want. But fucking expired products, there's no excuse for that. You should be doing regular inventory. So, I'm not going to feed my cats expired food. I don't know what the real expiration date on kibble is, but I'm going to trust what the manufacturer puts on the bag. I'm not going to risk it. I don't want to come home to cats that are dehydrated because they've been vomiting and shitting all day. So, throw out the food that's in their bowl, apologize to both of them, and say, I'm sorry, I fucked up. This is on me, my bad. And they're looking at me confused because I gave them food and now I've taken it away. And, okay, chill out, I'll be right back. So I walk back to the gas station with, bag of expired cat food in hand. And the clerk is helping somebody else, and she's your typical local small town gal, 50s, maybe 60s, likes to tell stories, knows everybody's name, gets along with them. So she's chatting away with somebody up front, and I go back to where the cat food is. And, ideally, what I'd like to do is just a straight swap. Find a bag that's not expired, explain the situation, just get it swapped, and take the new bag home. Now, this particular bag had expired in May. And as I'm looking through the rest of the bags, May, February, October of 2016, and I've gone through their entire inventory of that particular brand of cat food. Not one bag is good. That they're all expired. Well, what the fuck? So, again, I've gone through the different ingredient lists for all the cat foods that they have there. The cats don't like wet food, so I stick to the kibble. And, well, shit. I don't have time to go drive to a real store and get real cat food. So I'll buy a little bag of the crap cat food to get them by. Just to get them by for the day. This is my bad. I fucked up. I have to fix this. So I get a little bag of cat food, and because this bag is smaller and of worse quality, it's cheaper. Now the one cat food, I think it was like $3 something, and this one was like $2 something. So I walk up to the counter, and she's like, "Weren't you just here?" I said, yeah. Turns out the cat food that I got was expired. So I went and checked your shelf, and all the other cat food of this particular brand is expired as well. Oh, that don't mean nothing. What? Yeah, that's put on there by the manufacturers. It's still good though. Like, really? Yeah. I buy the food and I put it in a big old bin and I just give it to my animals, and there's no real expiration. It's still good. That all being said, I'd like to get some non-expired food for my cats. Okay. Let's see here. What you got? Okay, so this one was $3 this something, and the new one here is $2. God forgive me, I got to get my calculator out and do the math. Okay, 90 cents. So that'll be 90 cents, dear. What? At this point, I'm not... I've called her out to an extent on the fact that I'm not going to give my animals expired food. But now, I'm having a debate inside my head, the fact that they sold me expired food, said it's not an issue, and now they've fucked up the math to where I'm trying to exchange it out for a cheaper bag of food, and I'm having to pay the difference instead of them refunding the difference. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm in a small town in the middle of nowhere. This person already is under the belief that expired cat food ain't a big deal. Am I going to call into question her math abilities despite the fact that of her using a calculator there? Fuck it. You know what? I'm just going to eat it. I'm going to eat it and get the hell out and never come back. And so I hand her $1. She hands me 10 cents and change. I walk out and I am never going back. Gave my cats the food. They ate it up. Went and got another bag of their real food when I had time. And all's well. Except for the fact that this fucking gas station, one, overpriced. Almost to the tune of, $1 more for certain things. Two, shit's expired. They're not doing active inventory. They're not checking things. To the point where Sorry, I gotta take a drink here. On 3 separate occasions, I've purchased expired food. and or drink from them. Which, again, in my mind, once, okay, whatever. But multiple times, fucking get your shit together. And then, when I come back with a valid complaint that I got something expired, don't fucking brush it off. Like, who would feed their animal expired food? Again, I haven't looked into it. I don't know what the actual expiration date for cat food is, if it lasts a long time, or if it's, if it does actually expire when they say it does. But the fact that the fucking food turned green, usually it's a pretty good indicator. When something changes color, it's gone bad. There's something wrong with it. Why would I feed that to my animals? Why would you sit there and tell me that that's okay? That feeding them marked expired food that's changed colors, which I did point out to her that it's changed colors. She's like, oh, well, only some of it's changed color. Doesn't matter. If you see one spot of mold on your bread, do you cut around that and eat the rest of the bread? No. You have to treat it as though the mold has spread through the entire loaf and then throw the fucking thing out. So, I mean, am I wrong? Am I overreacting in the sense that, oh yeah, fuck it, I'll just give my cat expired food and deal with the shit and vomit from them getting sick. And then you can't do basic math that I get a refund for trying to get cheaper product after paying for a more expensive product. Just so much fucked up in one little transaction. And it screwed me over because I had to waste all my time doing this. Not that my cats aren't worth it, but fuck. I got up a little early and I wanted to have at least, 15 minutes to myself, and I couldn't even get that. And this was on, I only got 3.5 hours of sleep the night before. So I'm already not feeling good, and then having to deal with this shit. So fuck that little store. Fuck them. I'm never ever going back. I don't care how convenient it is having it there. If they can't be reliable in having non-expired product at a reasonable price, why the fuck should they get my business in the first place? I'm not going to call them out by name. I've already rallied you guys to one cause. So I'm, it's not like, oh, everybody head to Yelp and blast them there. I don't think it's going to make any fucking difference because, like I said, they're the only game in town. And there's 3 people that work there. So, fuck it. Fuck it. Just, I need to prepare better on my end. This was a failing on my part. I can't expect them to do their jobs and have decent rates for non-expired food. It's too much for me to expect a store to have that. So I need to take it upon myself and drive to another store that's further away to pay less for non-expired food. So I just realized with that first segment, I went totally off the rails. There was no, gentle recap or heads up as far as what we're going to be talking about. I actually had an in-depth discussion about a topic off the first half instead of rambling for 15, 20 minutes. So you have no idea what's going to come next. It's suspenseful. It's thrilling unless you've read the show notes in advance. Or do I get clever and mask it and say, oh, mystery third topic? Probably not. So recently have delved into the wizarding world of Harry Potter. Um, was recently reintroduced to me, and I've since sunk my teeth into it. So, growing up in a very strict Christian household, certain things were frowned upon. There were ritualistic burnings of our toys that were not deemed good in the eyes of the Lord, and we couldn't listen to certain types of music, and heaven help you if you were going to read a book based on fucking wizards and witches. So, I remember my sister was into it for a little bit, and at the time, I was in high school, and she was still in middle school, and I had made the joke that, oh yeah, you can take any page from Harry Potter, and if you pick out the right letters, it says the Bible is made up. But you could do with any book. But I thought it was being clever and funny, and she didn't take kindly to that. And that's really the first real memory of the Harry Potter that I have. From there, I did go see the movies because they were a worldwide phenomenon, and everybody was into it, much like, Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad. It's one of those things where, like, everybody seems to be dialed into it. It doesn't matter what your background is, you get into it. And so I went and I saw the movies. I saw them in the theaters. I never read the books. I still haven't. But I remember when Deathly Hallows was being released, it was in grocery stores and whatnot. Like, that shit was everywhere. And good on J.K. Rowling for creating such a captivating and engaging world, and going with the classic rags to riches stories through hard work. But I never really got like super into it. Like, oh, this is neat, but it never went any further than that. And so I recently got reintroduced to it, and for whatever reason, it's now taken a bit of a hold. And I don't know what the difference is. Maybe it's just I'm in a different mindset because I'm older. But I met somebody who's really into Harry Potter, and so it opens up this opportunity, like, oh, if somebody's really into something and I have a mild interest in it, I can grill them with questions and get information, like, oh, why is this? Why is that? And start digging down a rabbit hole. And one night we went ahead and rented Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and I hadn't seen that one yet. I remember listening to, what the fuck is it? It's the show with Scott Johnson and Justin Robert Young, Monday something. Anywho, they broke down the movie, and it seemed alright, but, not enough for me like to go out to the theater or rent it on my own. So, by the time I finally did see it, it was pretty much, well out of mind. And I was surprised, it was delightfully so, that it was a really good movie. It was enjoyable, if not, predictable. I did this really annoying thing where, okay, say it's the first time I'm seeing a movie, and same for the other person next to me. I'm going to be absolutely quiet and be very polite and not ask questions. I'm going to pay attention and be engaged and not disrupt the person around me. I apply movie theater rules. You be quiet. You laugh if you feel like it in some parts, if it's a genuinely funny moment, not if you're, mocking the movie. And then you have a discourse at the end of it. But in the case where one person's seen the movie already and I haven't, then I'm a little more likely to talk and kind of go through it and dissect the movie as it's happening. And I did this really annoying thing of predicting the movie kind of beat for beat as it went along. Now, there was a very obvious bait and switch that I bought hook, line, and sinker. I swallowed it whole, and when it happened, I'm like, son of a bitch, it was obvious. Hotline Monday, that was the other show. Yes, that's it with Johnson and Young. Johnson and Young, your trusted advisors in financial matters since 1862. So yeah, it's predictable, but it tells a more adult story in the Harry Potter universe than you ever got with any of the 7 or 8 movies in the main Harry Potter timeline. It takes place, the 20s? It's right after World War I in America, whereas, Harry Potter's all Europe. And it's focused on adults, not children. So already it's thematically a little bit different. It's geared more towards adults than it is kids. And it's all centered around, and I can't remember his name, around this one wizard who is traveling to America with a suitcase full of magical beasts. Now, he has spent the past several years traveling the world and documenting and collecting these various animals because he's writing a book about them and he wants to help preserve them before they get wiped, out to extinction levels. And somewhere along the way, he bumps into a bumbling sidekick character who they unleash all the beasts on New York. And already there's some dark arts happening in the world, and the beasts play a good scapegoat for that. And so the movie is about this main character, played by Eddie Redmayne. Newt Scamander, and it doesn't matter. It's all about him trying to recapture his beasts and clear his name in the process. And so the thing that always struck me with Harry Potter is how incompetent the adults are. So you have this effectively magical Hitler in the form of Voldemort who is rising to power, overthrowing the local governments, and wants to take over all of Europe and essentially eradicate Muggles, aka, non-magical people, kind of like Hitler wanted to do with the Jews. And the government is so incompetent, and adults don't want to believe this is happening, and so they kind of let it sit on the shoulders of teenagers, like, hey, yeah, it's kind of up to you to stop all this from happening. And some really bad shit goes down, but for the most part, these are children who are in school, who are still learning magic and how to interact with one another. And they're expected to fight back and defeat this ancient, malevolent, evil force that's been around for decades and has already subverted that magical world's government, not once, but twice. And so, even those that are teaching the magic in the schools are nothing but incompetent. They are easily thwarted and defeated by the forces of evil, and it's only through Harry Potter and his very close group of friends that, they're able to finally save the day. And so it doesn't paint a very good picture. And I don't know that it's necessarily supposed to. It's totally geared towards children. It's a kids' movie. The kids are going to be the heroes. They're the role models. They're the ones that, the audience is supposed to look up to. So, of course, it's not going to be full of super competent adults rushing in, doing their actual jobs, and saving the day. Whereas this Newt Scamander and every other wizard in Fantastic Beasts is an adult. And there are no children. The only child aspect, the only thing it can play towards the kids are these magical creatures themselves. And it goes through some very dark themes like child abuse and killing animals and all sorts of other things, and possession, and it's I'd say just as dark as the last few Harry Potter movies, but for very different reasons. But it's definitely geared more towards adults than kids, and I really appreciated that. But it's fully on display in how these wizards use their magic, and it's evident in the first few sequences where Newt is just kind of whipping spells left and right and being completely efficient with it to the point where, he doesn't have to even speak the spell name, and there's other wizards that don't even have to use wands. It's like they're playing on a completely different plane than the wizards in the main Harry Potter timeline. And so that was very jarring to me. It's like, because most of the characters in this movie are American, except for Newt, who, of course, did go to Hogwarts and is coming from Europe. But it showed a different class of wizard than what we were previously exposed to. And I think that's what helped get me engaged into this universe. And it's like, oh, okay, it's not just for kids. And then we see, as I start digging into the history, Rowling, again, I haven't read the books yet, but her use of some characters and the way she does things is very plain and obvious to see where she drew the inspiration for. Like, the Dementors are essentially an allegory for depression, because normal people can't see them. They just get very sad and lethargic around them. And with wizards, they suck away happy memories and leave them feeling kind of blah and wanting to die and all that other stuff. And I've already made the Voldemort Hitler comparison. A lot of the spells themselves are just kind of like half-assed Latin. And for what it is, she tells a very compelling story. It's enough that even where I can get in on the bits and pieces, it's drawing me in. And that's the most... that's what you want most as a writer, to be able to draw your audience in and make them hungry for more information. And unfortunately, in me digging through the Wikipedia entries on like some of these characters and storylines, there's not a whole lot there. Essentially, every character wiki reads, like, here's what happened in this book, here's what happened in this book, here's what happened in this book, and sometimes there's a little bit of a breakdown for the characters themselves, but it's not necessarily a theory, or it's not a discussion. It's kind of like reiterating what's already been said, and so it's a little frustrating when I'm used to worlds like, what Blizzard did with Warcraft, or Dante's Divine Comedy, or the Fable universe, where they have this deep, rich, lore-filled history, and I can get lost down a well. Or, Star Wars is probably the best example, where there is just so much there to learn and read about, and that was what I did with Star Wars growing up, where, Star Wars was my Harry Potter. I would go out and I'd get the books, and I'd read about these teenagers and kids on adventures when I was one myself, and I got really invested in their lore and the backstory, and it goes back thousands and thousands of years, whereas there's not much info outside of the characters that were introduced in the books in the world of Harry Potter. And a large part of it is because, only J.K. has been writing the stories themselves. It's not like she has a legion of writers that are writing, canonical pieces of work that tie into the universe and flesh it out. So it's meager, but it's enough for me to kind of get invested into it, and I might, pick up the books and start reading now. I hear tell that there's going to be 5 of these Fantastic Beasts movies, and we're getting Jude Law's Dumbledore, and Johnny Depp's in them. Spoilers, 2-week rules up. Johnny Depp's the bad guy. And I'm totally down for that. I'll be invested in, that's probably where I'm going to start then reading said series. But it's enough that, like, oh, this is another world that I can kind of start digging into and exploring and enjoying. It's just funny that being a 32-year-old guy that I'm just now kind of getting into it. Which I suppose is, again, it's what you want as a writer, to be able to engage your audience and pull them in from different spectrums. If you can hit the 4 quadrants, male, female, young, and old, then you've got a surefire hit. And so, I know plenty of people who are into Harry Potter, and they fit all, They come from the various different quadrants there. Sorry, I'm not used to rambling. It's been a very long time since I've done a show. Well, that's not true. We just did Friday Night Smite, and we had a delightful guest host on. But no. So I even took it as far as, which Hogwarts house do you fall under? I did the BuzzFeed quiz, and apparently I'm Ravenclaw. I haven't read much about Ravenclaw. But apparently they're the more logical, calculating ones. They're not total assholes like Slytherin, and they're not out for fame and glory like Gryffindor, and they're not window lickers like Hufflepuff. They're kind of like a stoic middle ground, and I don't know. I feel like I need to go get a scarf and whittle myself a wand, and that actually might make for like a good craft night of crafts. Like, let's get some knives, we're going to whittle a wand, and we can stain it and do this, that, and the other thing, you know, if you're looking for something to do this summer. That's actually not a half bad idea. I'm going to have to look into that further. But yeah, it's, like, I'm a huge fan of that. Like, when I find a series or a movie or something that I really like, and I know there's a little bit more that I can dig into, the first place I go is the wiki for it and just start reading and reading and reading and reading. And apparently, you know, much like is the case with any book to movie translation, there's a lot of information that doesn't get carried over. So I'm interested to learn more about it and hopefully be able to answer these questions on my own. But I don't know if the questions I'm asking aren't the right ones, or there just aren't answers. Like, what are the Dementors? Where did they... I know they were first discovered in Azkaban, but what the fuck are they? And who is the Sorting Hat? I know it's a magical hat, but it seems to have far too much personality to just be a magical hat. I'm thinking it has to be a person inside the hat. I don't know. I could just be looking too deeply into children's literature. But, you know what? Fuck it. I live by the philosophy of there are no guilty pleasures. If you like something, enjoy it. Don't fucking hide it because of what other people might think. If you're really big into, you know, soap operas or Harry Potter or death metal and you come from a conservative family, fuck it. If you're into it, be into it. Don't be ashamed of what you like, because that's part of you. And don't take shit from me or anybody else about what you like. Don't. You know, embrace it. Embrace it. Myself, said guilty pleasures include Katy Perry, Lady Gaga. Love me that shit. Love it. And now, Harry Potter's getting added to that list. So, you be you. You like what you do. If you want to compare, you know, Harry Potter houses or really talk about anything, write the show, theunwashedasses@gmail.com. Again, that's theunwashedasses@gmail.com. And, of course, the Twitter is @unwashed_asses. You can shoot a message there. We'll read them on the air. We'll have a nice little Discord. And, again, please, 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 I cannot stress this enough, podcastawards.com. Register, vote the Unwashed Asses in the mature category. Let's get us an award. We can rub it in anybody else's faces and get some awesome shit happening. We'll see you guys next Thursday.
I can feel the end, it's drawing near. It will soon be here. Oh, that much is clear. So shut the doors and turn off the lights. Let us sleep tonight. Let us huddle in the dark. Oh, my lover, you are beautiful, but that beauty comes at such a price. and I know that you'll soon disappear. Like the dark and the night.